Hello. This is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to just make videos, not like high quality videos, not anything out there, not anything insane, just talking about things we don't really talk about at all. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I do feel like the do is outweighed by the not, if that makes sense. Today I want to talk about little small ways that can better your ability to function in a world like ours. Just for disclaimer, my beliefs when it comes to life are very unstable. I haven't really found my footing yet. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if it'll ever come. I don't have any certainty when it comes to myself, my life, or people. So yes, it might make you think, why would I take any advice off of this person? But at some point it was way worse. And when you're born in certain conditions that don't teach you ways around life, or unfortunately you're not as privileged as others to have a very simple life, and your life is quite complex. You have layers that are complex, and to be able to pass through these layers, you need to have a stable mindset. Whether you have a stable outlook or not, your mind needs to be flat for you to be able to access the layers within. And these are the ways to do that. Now, we're not going to do any cuts, so you're going to hear me coughing, you're going to hear all the grim stuff. One of the first ways I found changed my life in some way was the questioning of why things are the way they are. As humans, we're naturally born curious. We like to have answers for a lot of things. There's a reason why science ever came to be. There's a reason why anything ever came to be. There's a reason why we keep track of history, because we want to know what led us to this moment, and we don't want to forget. That doesn't just mean to study what has happened or what we know. That is to study yourself and your life and your general outcomes in life. I found that the 5 whys are the most effective in exploring your mind and exploring why you are the way you are, why you make the decisions that you do, why others do, why others behave a certain way, why you do, and how to get to the bottom of things when you are, number one, an overthinker, or number two, a unstable person as a whole. Questioning the 5 whys basically goes, this is a scenario, situation happens, I'm gonna use a scientific situation just for this scenario, but this can apply directly to your own personal situations or anything, whether it's to do with relationship, family, career, any kind of choice, let's say, it can also apply for. I'm just going to use a why. So, a cup is placed upon a table. Why is that cup being held up? Well, because the table's holding it up. Okay. Well, what's holding the table up? This is the second why. Well, the table's being held up by the floor. Okay. Well, why is that table being held up? What's holding the table up? The floor is holding the table up, obviously. What's holding the floor up? The house. What's holding the house up? The world. Do you see how you get to a wider perspective? It detaches you and it separates you. I'm not too sure if I just listed 4 or 5 reasons. We ignore that. You get the gist. It separates you from your own bias. It separates you from your own opinion. It separates you from your emotion in moments where you can act irrationally. It makes you look at things in a very much logical perspective, and it makes you evaluate it based off of that. It helps you understand yourself more in that sense, because you're not looking at it through rose-colored glasses. You're looking at it as it is in a logical perspective. That, in the longer term, will help you in feeling more secure in who you are. You'll feel more confident in stating what it is that you want, what you don't want, what you need, what you don't need. and as well what you as a person can give to yourself, and to see if you are being what you can be, if that makes sense. Just put my hair down, it's annoying me a lot. Bear with me a second. We move on to the second one. Engaging your mind in something that you enjoy. This doesn't mean the classic go find a hobby. This means once you understand how you work, you start to know what makes you tick and what makes your brain feel alive. Everyone has different ways of this, and the one way I can give you advice on choosing what this thing is with one simple rule, and it's that as long as it doesn't harm you or someone else in the short term and long term, so a useless drug or hurting someone emotionally because you get high from telling people straight, and as long as it's nothing like that, that is how you'll find it. That's your one goal when finding this thing. This thing can be anything from picking up 5 leaves when you're on a walk, or laying down in the rain, or bringing fidget toys to a long meeting because you know that you're going to be bored at some point. You are showing up for yourself in understanding of what makes you happy in this position. This will always lead to some kind of comfort or success in an environment where you feel like you might fail or feel discomforted. These things can also be hobbies. So if you want it to be something just as simple as learning how to play the guitar, I've got a guitar, ukulele, a piano. I've self-taught every single one. I might not be consistent, but I have been. I don't constantly do it, but when I do it, I know how to because I did remain consistent for a period of time. And now it's not something that I can constantly bring my attention towards, but it's something that now I've learned about myself over time. It's engaging my mind in something that I enjoy. I enjoy music. Music is something that will always comfort me. And the ability to make music through all these instruments is something that makes me feel full. It feels like fulfilling some kind of missing piece in that moment. And it's also not attaching yourself wholly to that and not expecting yourself to have some kind of result from it. If you start learning how to play the keyboard and it doesn't work out, that's fine. If you start learning how to play the saxophone and it doesn't work out, that's fine. If you go on a walk and you don't enjoy it, maybe you can try the treadmill next time if you feel like maybe you want to lose weight. There's so many ways around, and you can't fail if you don't set an expectation on it. If you don't set an expectation, you can't fail. If you feel like you want to challenge yourself and set an expectation because you feel ready, do that. If you don't feel like you're ready, why set an expectation just to then beat yourself up for it? If you know the way you work by now through the 5 whys, then you would already know the consequence of this action before it is to happen. And the final little tip, and this is another small way, it's detaching from any negative source. That stands for any negativity. Yourself, the media you consume, the people you surround yourself with, the environment you surround yourself with. I'll give you examples on every single one. Yourself, every morning when you get changed and you don't like the way you look and telling yourself that you look awful, that is a negative outlook, and that will just neg you out. That will just ruin the day from the start because you don't believe in yourself, and now you're going to look for validation elsewhere. Someone at some point has made you believe that you're not pretty or you're not handsome or whatever it is. Therefore, now you carry this criticism constantly because of a belief from the outside world. Now you have become the negativity in your own life. Previously, what you should have done with that negative person was cut them off. That leads to my next point when it comes to negative people. Keeping a negative person in your life doesn't just mean a person who says negative things or has negative outlooks. That's a big one. I think that's one of the easiest ones to cut off. Again, everyone has a different situation, everyone has a different outlook in life, and everyone has different struggles in doing certain things to others. Maybe to me it's easier to detach from someone like that because I'm naturally detached as a human being. However, others might struggle with that, and that's completely okay. But that's something you should practice. Practicing how to start saying no and voicing your opinion over theirs. If you realize something is wrong, voice your opinion. If you're met with conflict, you leave the situation. You see if there's a reflection on that, and if they try to shift their mindset, let it flow. Don't go back into the situation, just let it flow. If they do not change, then leave and never look back again. When it comes to romantic situations, if you have someone who is negatively influencing you, manipulating you, gaslighting you, twisting you, making you extremely snowball in this attachment, number one, you need to take a minute to figure yourself out. If you're not aware of the way you attach, if the way you do things, it's very hard to start the next step. Now, self-awareness can only get you so far. It's about starting next. It's about starting to find these red flags before you get yourself into a snowball of trauma that has nothing to do with them, but it's actually just a trigger from a past. For those situations, you need to start learning how to cut those off. I'll make another video on that if that's something of interest. I don't even think anyone's going to see this, and that's fine. But if anyone does, I will make a video on that. But your environment as well. If I realized this when I went to certain environments, I didn't like their culture. I didn't like the way they expressed life. When I say culture, I don't mean culture as in an ethnic culture. I mean culture as in, like, you know, a positive or a negative culture. I didn't enjoy the way that they expressed life. Sometimes when I went to certain scenes, it was quite ravey, or a lot of drugs were involved, and I'm not for that. I can't complain about an environment I'm in if this is what I've chosen to walk my feet to, if that makes sense. It is in my control where I am, and if this isn't something that brings me peace, if I don't leave, my big thing after learning from the 5 whys is I don't enjoy interactions unless I leave feeling like I've learned something or taken something away from it. In a situation like that, I can't walk into hell and complain it burns. So why go into a situation that isn't my kind of scene and complain about the way it is, when I can simply poke myself out of the crowd, find either a similar crowd to mine, or make my own by being independent and in my own existence, if that's what is necessary in that moment. I think that's all I've got for you today. That was a very, very long chat. I didn't mean for it to be that long, but I can get carried away. And that was a very small little tip. This won't fix your entire life. If you have seen certain things and have lived through certain things, it is very hard to even begin. But these are little things that help in the process. Obviously, I always suggest getting help on the side, some kind of therapy, some kind of help to help assist you, to make changes in your life. And if you need anything, I'm here. If there's anything that you need assistance with, I'm always here. Please just pop a comment, give it a like, give me a text, do whatever you want. Thank you for your time.